So I guess that brokenness stemmed from the question of whether or not I would be able to really sustain these long term and really meaningful and deep relationships with other people if I was spending sort of like a fleeting amount of time with each respective community.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Encounters podcast. Its story is about first year students and their transition to Notre Dame. I'm Sophia Torcelino, your host, and we are with a special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. My name is Ethan Chiang. I'm a first year student majoring in global affairs. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I'll be living in Alumni Hall.
Nice. So it seems like you made quite the transition to Notre Dame and you've had a lot of experiences coming into here. With all your experiences coming into Notre Dame, how was your transition here? How did you find Welcome Weekend?
Um, I think so coming from high school and into Welcome Weekend, I think Welcome Weekend itself was definitely a little overwhelming for me. I think just in terms of the wide breadth of programming events, there was just a lot going on within the span of what, like 3 or 4 days. So I guess it was overwhelming physically, but also I guess meeting so many new people at one time, whether it be within your dorm, at these variety of different events. And be like whether or not you're gonna, I guess, how to sustain all those relationships as you continue into your first year of college. I think that was also a bit of a struggle for me.
I see. So, how were you able to navigate that coming into Notre Dame? Was there any classes or resources that you used, or maybe people that grounded you to become more comfortable with your position here at Notre Dame?
I think firstly, I think my sister, who is a senior here at Notre Dame, so she's graduating. Um, I think her being a presence and being physically here on campus with me, I think helped to ground me and made me feel more comfortable within the Notre Dame community at large. But I think preliminarily, also when you get first introduced and you get moved into your dorms, I think the dorm community itself is also a or what was a grounding force for me, particularly the people in my section, for instance. Being able to, I guess, meet those people because I guess that the first people you see, I think that was a valuable resource.
Yeah, I remember like my welcome weekend. I don't know if you also experienced this, but you probably did. There was like the Saint
Right.
Andre committee. And they all like helped you with packing, not packing, like getting your bags out of the car and into your dorm and checking you in. And I think that's also a good impression to like your parents on like making their child feel more comfortable with transitioning to Notre Dame.
Definitely.
Did you experience this beforehand, like, before your move-in that you moved in with your sister? Like
So I unfortunately I wasn't able to be with my sister
oh, I see.
what I because I guess when she came to college it was like COVID.
Oh, okay.
So they didn't have all of the welcome weekend activities. So I didn't really get a glimpse, but I guess through secondhand, her talking about her experiences, I think potentially helped me to adjust.
Nice. So you mentioned in your encounters essay the theme of brokenness, and it's a good image to see and like in a first year student that there's a aspect of vulnerability and trying to relate to others with like different college students and different levels and age years. So I was wondering, um, you kind of also bring it back to community. How was like community and that presence of community able to piece together that brokenness?
Yeah, so I guess I'll first mention that I didn't really have the most positive experience in high school. So coming to Notre Dame, I was looking and searching for a community where I felt like I really belonged and that was meaningful to me. And throughout the semester, especially just first coming in, I thought for the most part I was able to find those relationships and those communities that mattered to me. But I think as the semester progressed, and I was, I guess, engaged in various communities, both in the classroom, extracurriculars, clubs, etc. I felt that, I guess, my energy or my time was being diverged or being deflected to all these different communities that I'm part of. Um, so I guess that brokenness stemmed from the question of whether or not I would be able to really sustain these long term and really meaningful and deep relationships with other people if I was spending sort of like a fleeting amount of time with each respective community. And I think being able to repair that brokenness, as you mentioned, had to come from being able to identify which communities and which activities matter the most to me, are most proximate to my own heart, and being able to focus my time on those, and dedicate the time that's needed to sustain those relationships, I think was pretty valuable. So I think through that, it was able to help sustain and help ground, um, or help me overcome some of the brokenness that you described.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of students coming into high level prestigious colleges are kind of workaholics in a way. There's that drive to do better, to succeed, and sometimes our time management skills in high school don't necessarily translate into college. I think I've definitely found that in high school too, where I had to manage what really mattered to me with like classes and extracurriculars. I think I've also gotten better with that. Um, with like spending time out here as well as being away from home. And so I think really like bringing it back to community, the friends, no longer like small talk necessarily, but setting out the time to talk to them is a good like to grow in the friendship as well as repair like any brokenness that might have come being away from community. So with that, do you have any examples of events that you were able to repair the brokenness?
Um, I think, um, I guess for example, I'm on the debate team, and we've had like different trips, various tournaments over the course of the school year. So all over like Texas, Seattle, Tennessee, etc. And I think within some of those trips and tournaments where I've been able to, I guess, interact with a small group of my friends who are part of the team, I've really been able to, I guess, deepen my relationships with those people when I otherwise would not be spending that time with them. So I think in those circumstances, I think they've been pretty valuable, and helped me to grow my relationships with them.
Yeah, I think that's a very good example with debate. So you're involved in debate in Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. There's also like the dorm community, as you mentioned. That's pretty good. And like majors, like to help with classes and such. So there seems to be like a spectrum of
Yeah.
professional to personal relationships and how that intersects with our own building of like peace and like calmness within ourselves. Do you have any other extracurriculars or, opportunities that you're looking forward to perhaps, or that you're already involved in that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so this year I was part of the student government's first undergraduate experience in leadership, or FUEL. And basically it was a cohort of 25 first years. And we were basically introduced to how the student union works, and help with some of the work that the student government is doing. And then after this year, and starting now, I've stepped into the role of director of South Bend engagement.
Nice.
Um, within student government. And within that, I think I'm really excited to be able to um, form and deepen my relationships with the other directors, and in our executive cabinet, but also be able to engage in meaningful work that helps to connect Notre Dame students and the South Bend community at large, and being able to interact with South Bend organizations and businesses is definitely something that I'm really looking forward to this position.
Yeah, I really admire, like, the different levels of community that you're interacting with to, like, not mend necessarily the brokenness, but more so, like, make yourself flourish. I feel like I'm involved in tutoring in a local elementary school here in South Bend, and I think doing these, like, volunteer works, going out into the community that's not necessarily my home community, but the ones that is nearest to me really helps. It motivates you for your studies and for, like, reminding you to like why you do what you do, why you're involved in your majors or what you want to do professionally. I look forward to whatever you have planned. I know there's Back the Bend, which will be very fun and like supporting the local like shops and having them out here in the fields. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And with that, do you have any advice for first year students that are coming into Notre Dame?
Um, I would say probably don't spread yourself too thin. You have 24 hours in a day. And I guess at some points you might face competing pressures to have to dedicate time to your academics, your extracurriculars, but also your social life, your relationships with your friends and family. Um, and I think it's important to focus on and identify what really matters to you because I guess if you overcommit yourself to a variety of things, it just means that I guess the level of output, but also I guess your commitment to your relationships is not going to be as good as or where you want it to be. So I guess concentrating and discerning what matters most to you is probably the advice I would give.
Yes. Thank you for sharing your story, the advice, and the experiences that you've had at Notre Dame. We hope to have you maybe on another episode or other work with ND advising. So, thank you, Ethan, for today's episode. And I'm Sophia Torcelino, and this is the Encounter Story. If you want to read more about Ethan's Encounters essay, you can find it on the ND Advising website. And with that, thank you for joining us.